Good afternoon. Welcome to the West Basin Municipal Water District Water Policy and Legislation Committee and special meeting of the Board of Directors for May 18th. It is now 1:02. Calling this meeting to order. Um, we have to determine if there's a quorum. So item 2, Mr. Assistant General Manager, could you please call the roll?
Happy to do so, Madam Chair. President Donald Deere. Here. Chair Gloria Gray.
Here.
Director Scott Houston. Director Tommy Favai. And Director Desi Alvarez. Madam Chair, we have a quorum of the committee, but not of the special meeting of the Board of Directors.
All right, thank you very much. The next item 3 is public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak?
Madam Chair, we have not received any requests for public comment, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If there are any members of the public that would like to speak, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand now. And Madam Chair, we don't have any hands raised.
Thank you very much. Item 4, presentations. Are there any presentations?
We have no presentations this morning or this afternoon, excuse me.
Okay, thank you. Item 5, action calendar. We have one item on the action calendar. Can you please introduce that item, Mr. Acting General Manager?
Happy to do so. This item is to adopt a support resolution on SB 935, Local Agency Design Build Projects Authorization. For the presentation this afternoon, we have Augustine Hahn, Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst 2, and the item will begin on packet page number 3.
Thank you, Eric. Chair Gray, Director Deere, as Eric mentioned, the agenda report begins on page 3, and then the slides for this item will begin on page 6. So if we could move to the next slide, please. So just to provide a brief summary of the bill, Senate Bill 935 was introduced by Senator Stephen Choi, a Republican out of Irvine, January 29th. The bill also has several co-authors in the Senate and Assembly. I'll also note that they're all Republicans here. And this bill is intended to repeal the sunset date of January 2031 on the authorization for traditional or for local agencies to use the traditional design build contracting method. Staff recommends the board adopt a support position on SB 935, local agency design build projects authorization. Next slide, please. So to provide a bit of background, the California legislature began granting authorization for traditional design build projects in the early 1990s. The original bill included a sunset date of January 2031, as I mentioned previously. And these sunset dates are typically included to ensure that new policies work effectively before they become permanent. So SB 935 previously passed the Senate and is now in the Assembly, and just referred to the Assembly Local Government Committee. Supporters on this bill include Metropolitan Water District, Water Reuse California, American Council of Engineering Companies of California, the California chapters of the American Public Works Association, California CSAC, which is an association of counties, the League of California Cities, and also WRD. All are supporters of this bill. And there's no opposition on file currently. Next slide, please. Just to start with the benefits to West Basin. Traditional design build allows local agencies to deliver critical public infrastructure projects more efficiently and allowing for design and construction services under one contract. Removing the sunset date would allow local agencies to continue using traditional design build beyond 2031. This bill, just noting for you that the context here is important, as this bill can be seen as a way to test the legislature's appetite for removing sunsets on other project delivery methods that could be of interest to West Basin. Of note is progressive design build authorization, which is scheduled to sunset in 2029. As a reminder for you, West Basin is using progressive design build for the DCS or the Mosaic project that we're currently undertaking. In addition, other large recycling projects, such as the one for Metropolitan, are also planning on using progressive design build. And we'll move on to the next slide, onto the recommendation. And so staff recommends that the board adopt a support position on SB 935, local agency design build projects authorization. That concludes the presentation, and I'm happy to take any questions.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. President, do you have any questions?
No questions. No questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks for the presentation. And you already stated that we do use design build for our projects, and so I support the recommendation. Mr. President, do you support the recommendation?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. So you can move it forward with the recommendation from the committee. All right, we will go to item 6, information calendar. Can you please introduce item 6?
Yes, Madam Chair, starting with item 6A of the information calendar. This next presentation will be the quarterly Safe Clean Water Program update. We have 2 presenters, both Tammy Herlahai, Senior Water Policy and Resources Analyst, as well as Augustine Hahn, again, the Water Policy and Resources Development Analyst, and this item will start on packet page 11.
Thank you, Eric. Directors, I'll go ahead and get us started before passing it over to Tammy. And I'll direct your attentions to page 14 of the agenda packet where slides are located. Next slide, please. Just to provide a little background information regarding the WASCs, or the Watershed Area Steering Committees. Measure W was a ballot initiative that passed in 2018. And West Basin currently represents our service area on local watershed area steering committees. And so for the Central Santa Monica Bay, Matt is the primary representative, and I back him up. And also on the South Santa Monica Bay, Matt is the primary and Tammy serves as the backup. And that's kind of the team that we have working on these WASC issues. And the primary charge of the WASCs is to develop an annual stormwater investment plan. These are recommendations that are passed on to the Regional Oversight Committee under Measure W. And the Regional Oversight Committee, upon approval, will send this to the County Board of Supervisors for ultimate approval. Next slide, please. So I'll just cover the Central Santa Monica Bay part of the update here. Central Santa Monica Bay in the last quarter have been meeting and receiving proposals for projects under the various categories available under the regional program. At the end of the meeting in March, the WASC began discussions on which projects to include in the stormwater investment plan. In April, the WASC approved the final stormwater investment plan recommendation, which included the projects that are listed on the slide. So once these recommendations are adopted by the County Board of Supervisors, funding from this WASC is approximately 80% committed through 2030. And so that'll leave a little funding for new projects unless some of the previously funded projects drop out of this program. And so I think the big takeaway here is that these are the projects that we approved. And we included a lot of projects in there with some big price tags. And that has committed this program's funding for the next 3 years. At this point, I'll pass it over to Tammy to cover the South Santa Monica Bay.
Tammy, let's pause for a moment while we work out the audio. We're good? All right.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Augustine. Yeah, good afternoon, Chair Gray and Member Deer. Yeah, we can go to the next slide, please, for South Santa Monica Bay. As Augustine said, they're on a similar schedule for their meetings and their project reviews and approvals. So here is a list of the infrastructure projects, the scientific studies, and the technical resource projects that have been approved and are part of the stormwater investment plan. We did provide more detail on these a couple months ago. I can go over them briefly. The infrastructure project for LA Harbor College, that consists of a underground infiltration system to improve the drainage systems and includes 4 biofiltration areas. The Darby Park Multi-Benefit Project will capture, treat, and infiltrate stormwater at the park using dry wells while also providing park enhancements. For the scientific studies, the Stormwater BMP O&M Needs Assessment, this will gather information on common practices and develop solutions to high priority needs while monitoring the BMP performances over time. For the regional CECs and pollutants in stormwater assessments, this is a study that will be conducted by UCLA. Stormwater study linking land use to emerging contaminants and microplastics that will help guide future BMPs and planning. The technical resource projects, there are 3 located in the city of Carson. The first one, West Carson Stormwater Improvement Project, is being led by the Los Angeles County Department of Public Works, as it is located in the unincorporated portion of the West Carson area. So this project's feasibility study would involve an analysis of stormwater capture on Vermont Avenue, and then Victoria Park Stormwater Capture Project and Lucerne Street and Watson Center Road. Those are both being monitored by the city of Carson, and they will divert stormwater to underground storage structures and then implementation of dry wells on in the local area. So that's a brief summary of the projects, an overview of both of the WASC, South Santa Monica Bay and Central Santa Monica Bay. So we're happy to answer any questions. That concludes our update.
All right. Thank you very much for the updates from both of you. Mr. President, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
All right. Well, I don't have any questions, but thank you so much for that update. And we'll move on to the next item, please.
Information calendar item 6B, Madam Chair, is the monthly state and federal legislative update. And for this presentation, we will have Augustine Hahn again.
Thank you, Eric, and directors. I'll direct your attention to page 46 where the slides begin, and we'll get started with the state update. Slide, please. So the gubernatorial election 2026 is underway. Ballots have been mailed ahead of the June 2nd primary, which is just about 2 weeks away. There are many polls out there currently, but one recent poll shows that Steve Hilton, a Republican, and Javier Becerra, the Democrat, are tied in the lead at 18%. Additional information can be found in the Sacramento update in your agenda packet, but as a reminder, the top 2 vote getters, regardless of party, will appear on the November 3rd general election ballot. There are 80 assembly districts, 20 Senate districts, the even numbered ones, and 52 congressional districts on the ballot this year. Also, qualifying ballot measures will go on the November ballot on November 3rd. Next slide, please. The next update is regarding the Delta Conveyance Project. On April 23rd, The Delta Stewardship Council upheld the Delta Conveyance Project's certification of consistency under the Delta Reform Act and Delta Plan. This leaves only two technical issues in the pre-construction and planning phase of the DCP or Delta Conveyance Project. Governor Newsom released a press release framing this as a major step forward towards final approval and eventual construction of this climate resilience project. These actions will preserve future decision-making regarding the project funding at the local and regional levels. Next slide, please. The next update is regarding Governor Newsom's remarks at Aqua Conference. He gave remarks on May 7th at the Aqua Spring Conference in Sacramento, which staff and board was represented at. He emphasized modernizing and expanding California's water infrastructure, diversifying water supplies, and accelerating resilience projects. A major theme was a collaborative, all of the above approach. Also, Governor Newsom took time to applaud Aqua's selection of their new executive director, who they've named, and that person is Carla Namath, the current director of Department of Water Resources. Slide, please. Or sorry. Yeah. Before I cover the bill report, do have some additional information that I wanted to share. On May 14th, Governor Newsom released the May revision to the state budget for fiscal year 27. This includes a $247 billion general fund, approximately $750 million increase from the previous fiscal year. NPA and staff will be going through the details and will be providing updates at a future meeting. But just as a heads up, the deadline to pass a budget bill will be June 15th. And so the leadership at the state level will be doing negotiations to determine what that final budget looks like. And so onto the state bill report. Have a couple bills here that the West Basin Board has taken support positions on. And so I'll just go through these very quickly and then kind of let you know what the status of these bills are. And just in terms of timeline, we'll remind you that Friday, May 15th, this past Friday, was the last day for fiscal committees to hear and report bills to the floor of their respective houses. And so May 29th will be the deadline to pass those bills out of the first house. So there'll be a lot of legislative action going on within the next couple of weeks. So we'll go to the bills. AB 35 by Alvarez is the Administrative Procedures Act exemption for Prop 4. This is to help get Prop 4 dollars out into our communities faster. And that bill is now in the Senate and is in the Natural Resources and Wildlife Committee. SB 872 by McNerney is the climate change funding priorities. And this was to help with the subsidence issues and levees in the Delta area. That bill passed the Senate Appropriations Committee and is now on the Senate floor awaiting further action. AB 2215 is a bill regarding water rights on the state water project. This is to provide an extension for those water rights, something that the state board has not taken action on. And so this bill passed the Assembly Appropriations Committee and is now on the Assembly floor awaiting further action. And so we've got a typo here on the slide. For the next bill, it's AB 2777 by Connolly. This is a bill regarding the state water pollution, the state clean water state revolving fund program. And it also clarifies some language within the water recycling regulations. And so this bill passed the Assembly Appropriations Committee and is also on the Assembly floor currently. The last bill is a bill that will not be moving forward this session. And that is AB 1893 by Gallagher. This would have made projects like helicopter dip tanks eligible for Prop 4 funding under CAL FIRE. So unfortunately, this bill won't be moving forward, but we'll be tracking how those Prop 4 dollars are being proposed to be spent through the budget process. That includes or concludes the state part of the report. I'm happy to pause here and see if there's any questions before moving on to the federal update.
Thank you, Augustine. Are there any questions, directed to President Deere? Any question?
Here.
Great.
I think
I'll go ahead.
you said no. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Gray. I'll go ahead and move forward with the federal update. And so on April 21 and 22, West Basin held our annual DC advocacy trip. During the trip, we presented the Legislator of the Year awards. We met with members of the West Basin delegation and also met with staff from Metropolitan, Aqua, and Water Reuse. Just to kind of give a brief overview of the topics that we discussed was the briefing book, which is a document that Water Policy partnered with the PI department and also engineering to produce. We also discussed the Mosaic or the DCS project, which Congressman Liu has submitted as a community or as an earmark request for the next fiscal year 27 appropriations bills. And we also discussed the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers funding issue with the Harbor South Bay project. We spent time educating our delegation members on this funding issue and continued coordinating with Senator Padilla's office on. We also discussed large-scale water recycling reauthorization, which there's a couple bills out currently which seek to address this issue. And this issue is important to our region because it's relevant to Metropolitan's large recycling water project that's being proposed. Also, we took time to discuss West Basin's investments in water conservation, and we framed that as a way to help reduce reliance on Colorado River supplies. I'll just pause here to see if anyone has anything to add regarding advocacy trip. Alrighty, and we'll move on to the next slide, please. So some news about the Colorado River. The lower basin states advanced a proposal to reduce share of the Colorado River. Negotiations are deadlocked over a water sharing deal among the 7 Colorado River states on how to manage water in the river moving forward in the long term. And so on May 1st, Arizona, California, and Nevada proposed to conserve at least 3.2 million acre feet over the next 2 years. This is approximately a third of their collective legal entitlement. This proposal also builds on the previous proposal that they submitted. I believe it was at the end of last year. On that same day, the Upper Colorado River Commission released a counter statement strongly objecting to the requirements embedded in the lower basin proposal. And so one key issue is the federal funding for the lower basin in seeking to compensate farmers in cities and tribes to conserve water. Since we've submitted this agenda item, there's also been some additional news. On May 13th, Politico reported that the Interior Department is preparing to release its final plan in late June. This would be their final EIR and record of decision. And so it's my understanding that this can be interpreted as the federal government putting more pressure on the states to try and find an agreement. Next slide, please. And so on April 16th, the EPA announced the National Water Reuse Action Plan, or RAP 2.0. This was released about a week before our DC advocacy trip and was a topic of discussion in our meetings with water reuse. But this plan really includes 3 initiatives, and that is to support reuse for resurgent domestic industries, water for the U.S. technology revolution, and unleashing American energy dominance. Slide, please. Senator Schiff is planning to introduce legislation that would establish cybersecurity requirements for drinking water and wastewater systems through amendments to the Safe Drinking Water Act and Federal Water Pollution Control Act. This bill would require cybersecurity plans to be added to the risk assessment and emergency response plan for water systems. Just a spoiler alert that we here at West Basin are in the process of updating those plans, and we do currently have cybersecurity in our recycling plan, and we'll be looking to include that in the drinking water plan as well. The bill also directs EPA to establish metrics for cybersecurity progress across both drinking and wastewater systems. The bill would also provide $3.5 billion to help implement these upgrades over the next 5 years. The bill is in draft form currently. Senator Schiff's office has been receptive to early feedback from our associations such as ACWA. And as of today, there is not a set date for the introduction of this bill, but it is a topic that West Basin, along with our partners at ACWA, are engaging on currently. That concludes the federal update, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Augustine. Mr. President, any questions?
Any questions?
Mr. President, any questions? All right, thank
No
you.
questions.
Thank you, Augustine. All right, thank you so much for the presentation. Let's see, I think that's the last item under information. Mr. Acting General Manager, what's the next item?
We have one more item under information for 6C. This will be the monthly Metropolitan Water District update presented by Tammy Herli.
Barrick, good afternoon again. So this is a brief update on programs of interest that is reported on at the Metropolitan Water District. And there's also a PowerPoint slide to help with this reporting. So, and they start on page 70. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This first item is to just talk about the MOU interstate transfers and exchanges for the Colorado River Lower Basin. So Metropolitan and San Diego County Water Authority have taken the lead in improving an MOU to explore opportunities for interstate transfers and exchanges. There is an additional or a potential for additional parties to the MOU, which would include the Southern Nevada Water Authority, the Arizona Department of Water Resources, Central Arizona Water Conservation District, the Salt River Project Agricultural Improvement and Power District, and the Bureau of Reclamation. The purpose of the MOU is to work with other parties across the lower basin states to move forward with the intentionally created surplus rules that have expired, and to also create additional flexibility by allowing interstate transfers of water, not just the storage within the system or not just temporary transfers. It would provide operational flexibility for Metropolitan, as Metropolitan is a junior priority user in California. It would allow for augmentation of water supplies that are available through additional infrastructure projects and encourages funding to allow these projects to move forward, to have partnership to fund a particular program, and then work out how the water would be shared. So currently, all parties are reviewing the legal frameworks with the policy. This process may lead to inclusion of additional rules in the new guidelines, which Reclamation will be adopting very soon. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief update on the Bureau of Reclamation drought response operations. So last month, the Secretary of the Interior finalized Reclamation drought response operation plan in order to reduce water releases from Glen Canyon Dam to raise the elevation of Lake Powell. Currently, the forecasts are predicting that Lake Powell will fall below the critical elevation level of 3,500 feet by April 2027, which would have a significant impact on the operations at the Glen Canyon Dam. The releases to Lake Mead would be reduced to 6 million acre feet. That's a drop compared to the current releases at 7.48 million acre feet. At the same time, upstream from Lake Powell is the Flaming Gorge Reservoir. They would be releasing between 660,000 acre feet to 1 million acre feet to add to Lake Powell. These reductions would begin in October 1st at the start of the water year. The lower basin states had submitted a comment letter of concern, and they issued that reclamation first, it cannot use authority in proposing the releases from Flaming Gorge, which is the upper initial unit, because the drought response operations agreement has already expired as of December last year. And the lower basin states are preserving their options by raising these legal concerns that are related to the 1920-22 Colorado River Compact. So a 6 million acre feet release would likely cause a deficiency as outlined in 2 articles of the compact. The drought response operations agreement, as mentioned earlier, this expired in December 2025. So its authority over upper initial unit releases is disputed. And this letter was submitted by the lower basin states, urged reclamation to act quickly without relying on the expired agreement. They also discouraged enabling inapplicable drought response operations that are, not valid right now to protect the system. Next slide, please. So this is just a brief update on the Delta Conveyance Project. As you heard earlier, there's some big news that came out of that. EWR will be able to proceed with the Delta Conveyance Project once a new certification of consistency will be filed to address these new policies. The governor has led efforts, as you know, to move the Delta Conveyance Project forward in securing financial support from water agencies across the state. And just as a reminder, Metropolitan did approve pre-construction funding. That was back in December 2024. They approved the pre-construction funding for work on the Delta Conveyance Project in the amount of $141 million, which was Metropolitan's portion from all the state water contractors, total of $300 million. Next slide, please. So brief update on the Pure Water Southern California program. It continues to focus on several areas that include program management, environmental planning, advanced water purification, demonstration testing, and preliminary design of initial pipeline reaches. So for the demonstration testing at the AK Warren facility, Metropolitan staff has advertised 5 equipment procurement packages. Staff are currently evaluating the bids that are received, and they will return to the board later this summer to award 1 or more procurement contracts. The demonstration testing for treated and raw water augmentation alternatives are anticipated to begin in 2027. This testing information will allow Metropolitan to assess both alternatives. The conceptual design report for the entire conveyance system has been completed. In addition, the preliminary design of Reaches 1 and Reach 2 through the cities of Carson, Long Beach, and Lakewood are underway. And Metropolitan staff will be ready to advertise these procurement packages after the Pure Water Program assessment have been made through the Camp for Water process. And next slide, please. So here's a schedule of the remaining meetings for May. This schedule has been slightly adjusted late last week since the report has been posted. So I'll just briefly mention the update. The subcommittee on Camp for Water will be at 9:30 instead of 9. The subcommittee on imported water will be at 11:30 instead of 12:30. The break will be at 12:45. And then at 1:15, the special joint board of directors and executive committee will be held instead of just the executive committee originally scheduled for 2:30. Alrighty, and next slide, please. For the water supply conditions update. So snowpack for the Northern California and Upper Colorado River Basin are both well below average. The State Water Project allocation to contracting agencies has been increased to 45% of the supplies requested. DWR just made this announcement of the increase last Friday. And Lake Oroville storage is at 99% capacity. In the spring, the State Water Project allocations are based on the current hydrological conditions, the reservoir storage, and the remaining snowpack. So as you know, in March, there were record high temperatures and early snow melt. However, in April, there were consistent rainstorms and activity, which helped to provide the runoff through the system. That helped DWR to meet the water deliveries under environmental regulations without pulling stored water from Lake Oroville. And also the Colorado River hydrologic conditions are deteriorating despite near normal precipitation this spring. Higher than average temperatures reduced the projected runoff into Lake Powell, now down to 40% of average. So as a result, reservoir elevations in Lake Powell and Lake Mead are expected to continue declining. We'll keep a watch on that and keep you updated. So that concludes this update, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Madam Chair, that concludes the item. If there are any questions for staff?
Thank you, Tammy. Thank you, Eric. Mr. President, any questions?
Any questions?
All right. Thank you so much, Tammy and Augustine, for your reports this morning. I think that's the last item under information. So item 7, do we have any closed session item?
We do not have a closed session today.
Thank you. Item 8, director's comments, future agenda items. Mr. President, any comments or future agenda items?
None, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you again to staff for all the presentation. Thank you, Eric, for being a part of the meeting today. With that, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.